Game design documents are a great way for us designers to document our design so that we don't forget them. However, sometimes we fall in the trap of writing a lot of stuff that we end up never using. Today, I'm going to share how to properly write a game design document and the key aspects that it has to have in order for it to be useful for you as a designer. I am also going to add a free game design document template for you to use in case you need it. Keep in mind that game design documents are not one size fits all. The way I do them might be different to the way you do them. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to be using the original of the Legend of Zelda game as an example. Now before I start, I want to say that I am of the idea that game design documents need to be short and sweet. This serves two purposes. One, it saves other people time when they read it. And two, it saves you time when you write it. Also, if you end up writing a Bible, chances are you're not going to use most of it, so keep it simple. The first thing you need to write in a game design document is an overview. In this overview, the idea is to write a few lines that tell the general idea of the game. In our example, we will write, The Legend of Zelda is a game in which the player adopts the role of Link, a boy trying to save Hyrule from the evil warlord known as Ganon. He does this by collecting the Triforce pieces and by exploring dungeons that hide all kinds of secrets and challenges. Always try to keep the overview as short as you can. Ideally, it should not be more than a few lines. If you feel like it needs to be longer, go ahead, but keep in mind that some people might not read it. The second section of your GDD should be inspiration and previous works. When building this section, you should search the internet for concept art that might look interesting to you. Another thing that you need to do in this phase is do a lot of research to see what games exist right now that are similar to the one that you're trying to create. This helps a lot so you know what is out there and make sure that you can differentiate your game. In our example, this section will probably have a bunch of cool pixel art like this. In previous works, I will add essentially any game that is similar to Zelda. Now, at that time, when this game was created, there was nothing similar to that. Nowadays, there are a lot of games that are similar to Zelda, like Hyper Light Drifter or Crusader of Senti. The idea in this section is to do a lot of research and know what the look and feel of your game might look like. Something important to consider here as well is to make sure to spend enough time to make sure that you know your competitors. The more aware you are of what's already out there, the easier it will be to differentiate and come up with something unique. The third section is to define your target audience. This section should be really short and should only be a couple of lines. It is important to define it so you have an idea of who your playtesters are going to be and how to market your game. In our example for The Legend of Zelda, this section will look like this. Target audience, preteens, teenagers. A common pitfall in this section is that some people think that their game is for everyone, and that is in most cases not really true. Try really hard to think about your ideal target before you start creating your game, as it is going to make your development a lot easier when you're playtesting with people. The next section is core mechanic or mechanics. In this section, you need to explain what your game is about mechanically. Obviously, depending on your game's complexity, this section length is going to vary. The idea still is to keep it as short as possible. Also, try to use language that anyone will understand and don't get too elaborate with how you explain things. The idea here is for programmers, artists, and producers to understand what you mean, so try to be as concise as possible. In our example, for The Legend of Zelda, this would look like this. First, we will list mechanics for the world. Now in this example, the world doesn't have any particular mechanics of note. If this was Majora's Mask, one thing to note will be that the game ends every time 3 days have passed. For this game, there are things like, in the Lost Woods, the player needs to choose certain directions to get to the other side. In the graveyard, the player can push tombstones to reveal secret passageways. The player can light torches to reveal secrets. Second, we will have the player character. Link can attack with his sword in 4 directions by pressing the B button, up, down, left, or right. Link can walk in the 4 directions mentioned. Link can use items, bombs, boomerang, blue ring, red ring, ladder, power bracelet, shield, bow, magical rod, etc. Bombs allow Link to destroy walls and kill enemies. Boomerang allows Link to attack enemies from a distance. Blue ring allows Link to cut damage in half. Red ring allows Link to cut damage in half of the blue ring. Ladder allows Link to traverse through rivers. Power bracelet allows Link to lift rocks. Shield allows Link to block attacks. Bow allows Link to shoot an arrow and attack enemies. Finally, we will take a look at the enemies. I'm just going to show a few of them so you get the idea, as there are a lot of different types that will make this video unnecessarily long. Stalfos can move unpredictably in any of the 4 directions, but can be defeated easily. Wisrobes can disappear and appear and they shoot magical attacks. Rope can only attack when the player is directly, horizontally or vertically from them. Then they dash quickly against Link. The next section in the GDD will be our theme and player experience. This is really important because as we start developing our game, we can always go back to the theme and player experience. This helps us know whether we're doing a good job or not. The way that this will work in Zelda is the following. The theme is adventure. The player experience is uncovering secrets and exploration. This section I like to keep very simple, because when anyone reads those few words, they understand really quickly what I mean. It is also a good idea to just use some keywords in here, because when you're playtesting, I find it very helpful to ask people what is the first word they think about when playing your game. If they say something similar to what you have written here, it's a great sign. That means that you are on the right path. The next and final section of the game design document is the core game loop, and it is one of the most important components of any game. There might be more than one core loop in any game depending on how big the game is, but normally smaller games focus on one core loop that rules the entire game. In our example, for The Legend of Zelda, the core loop is explore, discover dungeon, solve puzzles, defeat boss, get Triforce piece, back to explore. If you think about it, those are the actions that you're taking in the whole game. I will also keep this part short, so that it is easy for other people to understand, and for you to never forget, as it is one of the most important pieces of the document. It is good to remember that even if you have a good game design document, this is just the start. It is a good start, so don't disregard it and take it seriously, but don't assume it will make it or break it either. I know of some game companies who barely use GDDs, and their games are super successful. I also know of game companies that write bibles of GDDs and their games are successful. Also, these are a good tool, it's not what will define your game success in the end. And that's it, you guys, thank you so much for watching. What is your preferred way of creating GDDs? Please let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you like this video, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. See you next time!